Are we streaming yet? We are streaming. Welcome everyone on the phone. We'll give folks just one more minute in the room here to get settled. People are still filing in a little bit. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock, which is our appointed time. So we will call this meeting of the Early Learning Advisory Committee to order. We have a full agenda here today and a number of welcome guests in the room. So thank you all for being here and spending this time with us. We'll look forward to hearing from you if you're so inclined later in the meeting. So with that, Courtney, I think if you can bring up the agenda, we can walk through that. And I'm going to make just one quick edit. Oh, she thinks my eyes could see that. I'm going to use the one in front of me. So we will approve the agenda in the July minutes. Those of you who were here last time will remember I neglected to do that. So on behalf of my colleague over here, we're going to get that done nice and early. And then I'll just give a couple of quick remarks and turn it over to Courtney to give an update on how things are faring against our strategy. Then we have Marcus, who's going to share with us about Dolly Parton's Imagination Library and a wonderful new investment made by the state that we're really thrilled to talk about. We're going to hear from Monroe Smart Start and about the Monroe County substitute pilot. We know that that is an issue that is affecting communities all across Indiana. So there's been a great deal of interest even across the country. They were sharing earlier today, so it's nice to be able to learn more about their good work and how we might continue to work together around it. As has become our tradition, we will give an update on our overall priorities, and we have a number of key presentations that we'll hear in order to do that. And then we'll have an opportunity for public comment. And so we will make sure that we leave plenty of time at the end of the meeting for any of you who are interested in sharing with the group. We will have comments limited to 2 minutes, just based on the number of folks here in the room. I want to make sure we have time to hear from everyone. So I think there's a sign-up sheet. If you've not yet signed up, please take the opportunity to do that. So we can just know who is here and be sure to get to all of your comments. And if I have to talk faster to get us there, we will. So with that, thank you all again so much for being here. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting and the July minutes? Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review. Any questions or concerns? Thank you, Kimberly. So moved. Second. And we have a second. Any discussion around those items? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And Courtney, I neglected to ask, do we have folks on the phone voting as well?
We have 4 members on the phone and they should be able to talk. Let's actually go ahead and do a test on that so that we can worry about it during the meeting.
Madeline, can you maybe test it out for us?
This is Mark. I'll vote aye.
How about Betsy?
This is Betsy saying.
Betsy, are you able to?
Oh, Betsy's trying to talk.
Yep.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Is good? Okay.
We're still working on the technology here in the room, just for a second.
Okay.
They're on?
Betsy just unmuted and talked.
Yep. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Just 1 minute, Betsy. If you're saying something very smart, wait just a second and we'll be able to hear it in the room momentarily, I'm sure.
Task 1, 2. This is Mark. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Sounds like we're getting there. So,
Do we have her?
Betsy, do you want to try again? We might have your audio now.
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
He's talking. Okay, Quinn, we'll have you work on that. And then Kevin work on that, and then we will get
I
started.
think we have sufficient votes here in the room
We do, yes.
to make that count, but we'll want to count your vote as soon as we are able. So thank you for that. With that, I'm actually going to cede my time as the chair almost after I do a couple of thank yous. We have been really delighted to be hosted today in a beautiful Ivy Tech facility in Bloomington. If you haven't been here, I encourage you to make the trip. It's gorgeous, much like our experience was in Muncie just a few months ago. We have had the honor of visiting 3 early learning providers in the surrounding area this morning. We saw a registered ministry, a family childcare home provider, and a licensed center as well. And really 3 very different models, all doing incredibly important work with evidence of children learning just all around and abounding. And so what a wonderful way to start our day. And big thanks to Jennifer Myers for introducing us to all of those programs. And I started my career, well, not started, but in the middle of my career, I worked in healthcare. And my job was to make sure that patients were having a good customer experience. And I used to always say, we want them to think their doctors and nurses are heroes, but not because we told them to park in the wrong spot and we, neglected to send the bill to the right place, right? We wanted our experts to be able to do the things that they do best. And I feel the same way about the providers we met with this morning. It has taken such a village, and it was true in Muncie, and it was true in Warsaw. And it's certainly true here as well. It's taken a real community of people to surround providers to help get them focused and to be able to do their best work. And I really see the job of the Elac as helping to make sure that we're reducing those barriers. And I know the state's very intent on that as well. So that you can just focus on the business of teaching and learning young children. So with that, I am excited to turn it over to Marcus to talk about one really wonderful new initiative to do just that. The state, as many of you have no doubt seen through the legislative process, made a remarkable investment in the Dolly Parton Imagination Library as part of the state's continuing work through the IDOE and beyond to address the literacy needs across Indiana. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marcus to share a little bit.
Well, thank you. I will be brief. I just want to thank you guys for giving me this chance to just share some details about this really wonderful program. My name is Marcus Whited. I'm the program director at the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County. And one of my roles with that position is to administer the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program for Monroe County. Basically, what I'd like to just take a few minutes to kind of talk about a little bit is just talk just a little bit about what Dolly Parton Imagination Library is, talk a little bit about how Monroe County came to be an affiliate and administer the program here. Also talk, of course, about the statewide expansion, which is super exciting news. And then also just briefly, just some of the benefits that, from the program and from what we've noticed, even just from doing the program for a couple of years. So for those of you that don't know, Dolly Parton Imagination Library, Dolly was inspired by her father when she was young. Apparently, her father's inability to read and write really inspired her to do something about that when she came to, a position of influence. And so the program was started in 1995. It's dedicated to inspiring a love of reading and gifting books each month to children from birth to age 5, free of charge to anyone that signs up. The parents actually sign them up, but through some shared funding by state and local community partners, this is how this is able to happen. The program has provided 2.4 million free, high quality, age appropriate books each and every month. That is a mind boggling number. That is amazing. Again, no charge during any part of the process. And I did provide, you may see at your seats there is a handout here that kind of provides a bit of a visual as how the model works. It does require some collaboration, some community partners. There's some funding that's needed, and so the handout kind of explains who does what to make this all happen. But we were fortunate enough to be approached by the Centerpoint Energy Foundation. This was as a result of an initiative of Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation Fellowship. About 2.5 years ago, we were approached by Centerpoint Foundation. and they said, hey, we would like to provide some initial funding for 4 counties in Indiana to be a part of this program. And they talked with us about it pretty quickly. We were like, that sounds really great. But we talked through the logistics of what this looks like. And the next thing, we were signed up. We had a kickoff event in June of 2021. Pretty quickly, we had several hundred kiddos and families sign up. Since this time, we have been able to get books into the hands of 2,881 kids. Just in a couple of years, we've 2,881 unique kids. So that number is growing a lot. I checked it. I actually checked it out this morning, and the number fluctuates, right? Because kids age out and kids come on. But as of this morning, we're at 2,137. We're just happy to see that our numbers have grown each month very consistently. And it's something that I know our community is just very excited about. Now, here's the real exciting stuff. Many of you I'm sure are aware that Governor Holcomb announced this program would receive statewide expansion this year as part of his 2023 next level agenda. On May 4th, it was signed into legislation to allot $6 million over the next 2 years. So I think that it's going to be $2 million for the first year and then $4 million for the second year. I know that the goal of the statewide expansion is to make books available to children ages 0 to 5 in every single zip code in Indiana. That is the goal. Now there are some things that need to happen to make that possible. There need to be affiliates. There need to be other funders that would agree to participate, because it doesn't cover 100%. But again, if you refer to to the infographic there, it kind of breaks down how this would look. But I know starting this month in September, current Imagination Library partners would pay only 50% of the local program costs, with 50% paid for by the state. I know the goal is that with this initial initiative that this would reach 6,500 more children in the state of Indiana. I'm sitting in a room full of people that I'm sure are far better versed at this than I am in terms of the benefits of what this means to young people, but there's been lots of studies conducted not only by Imagination Library, but just showing the benefits, what this means for young children. I know that the best part about my role and what I do with this position is the communication that I have with parents and how much this is meant to them. Like this, there's the obvious benefits of, everyone in this room, I think, would agree. Hey, getting kids reading at a young age consistently is huge. But what I find really moving and exciting is the parents talk about how it's become a consistent ritual for them. It's a bonding time for them. The kids are excited to get the books in the mail, and they'll sit down and they'll cuddle, right? And they'll read books together and they'll talk through. And that's just something that, for a kid to get a new book every single month and to be able to go through that and have that experience with their family and with their parents, their caregivers is a really important thing. So it goes way beyond just the academic benefits and development, but also the time spent together as a family. So I've probably taken too much time, but I just wanted to mention how we became involved with this and how it's been a truly wonderful program. We're very excited how this will benefit the entire state of Indiana.
Fantastic, wonderful. And I think it's just an incredible commitment that the state has made to making sure that all young children have opportunities to learn to read on time. I wonder, Kelly, if you want to just talk about some of the wraparound support.
Sure. So my name is Kelly Cervisi, and I'm the Director of Kindergarten Readiness for the Department of Education. So my office, the Office of Kindergarten Readiness, as long as our digital learning team, came along to help support the Imagination Library as well. So in the Indiana Learning Lab, which is a free resource available to all educators and families in the state, you can find a reading guide for every book that's available in the Imagination Library, all the way from the book for infants to those going to kindergarten. So the reading guide gives you tips for read alouds. There's ideas for music and movement, supplemental activities. We do have 2 professional learning opportunities coming up. On September the 20th from 4 to 4:30 p.m. We are going to be doing an informational session in the Indiana Learning Lab. The state librarian, as well as a representative from the Imagination Library, is going to kick off for the first 15 minutes. They're going to talk about what it means for the state and how you can sign your child up. And then for the second 15 minutes, my office will be speaking about the importance of high quality read alouds and how parents and family members can do that at home. Then on September the 27th, also from 4 to 4:30 p.m., we'll have the Imagination Library again for the first 15 minutes. For the second 15 minutes, we'll be targeting more educators on how you can bring the books and the guides into your early care and education environment. So again, that's all thanks to our digital learning team for helping us with that, Dr. Jenner's support, and the Indiana Learning Lab. It's inlearninglab.com. It's a free platform, tons of resources available. So I would encourage everyone to get an account and sign up for that, those sessions, and download those resources today. So thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, wonderful. If
Maureen,
we
can-
come to any of your
can you hear
events, do
me?
we get to meet Dolly? I don't know the rules there.
Yeah, we've got Mark on the phone.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Mark. Wonderful.
Hey, guys, sorry for interrupting, but questions either for Kelly or the previous speaker. And
Sure.
up here, way up north here in Porter County, our community foundation is trying a program where we try to fund a starter 529 college account for newborns in our county. And so relative to the Dolly Parton initiative, one of the struggles that we have up here is penetration rate. It seems like the parents that are, I don't want to put this the right way, but the families and kids that are in the most need are also the most difficult to reach, to penetrate, to get them to sign up for something like this, even though it's a free initiative and all that. How are you guys, what's your experience and how are you addressing that?
Well,
Marcus is going to answer that question for you.
yeah, I'll try. And Jennifer is probably better well-versed to address this, but Monroe Smart Start operates a Let's Read program, which is largely is the reason why I think so many of our families have become aware that this is an option for them. We realize that the main way that people sign up for something like Dolly Parton is to do it online. That's the easiest way to do it, but some folks don't have access to that. So we do have like instructions on our website, and we do promote other ways, even just mailing in your information or calling us up on the phone. We can get folks registered that way. So I think, just thinking about what the barriers would be to, for folks and just trying to reach them where they're at to make sure the opportunity is available to them.
I have a
Sure.
question. So families that have children 0 to 5 can sign up. What about an early childhood classroom teacher? If those resources are available for them, can an early education teacher sign up to receive those monthly books?
I'm going to be honest, I am not sure if their educators are eligible. So I would encourage them to log on to the September 27th webinar in the Learning Lab. And that's a question they could ask. If they're not eligible to receive them, maybe they can, check them out at the library, or at least use some of the tips that are in the guides in their classroom and to share those tips with their families.
Thank you.
There is a really terrific FAQ page on the Dolly Parton Imagination Library website that I frequent regularly. So yeah, you might check that, but I'm not aware of classrooms being able to sign up. I think it's something that parents or guardians have to do.
Mark, that's what I was going to ask. Is this basically run through a community organization of some sort as opposed to through a school? Because we're talking 0 to 5, really prior to them, except for 5-year-olds, prior to them necessarily getting them the school system.
Yeah, it can be a school. It can be a 501c3, nonprofit. There's different, different organizations can fulfill that role. So, it just takes, there's really a minimal amount of administration that's involved. There's a database that's updated every single day. I go in and I kind of make sure everything's kind of cleaned up in there and everything is straight. But just with minimal participation from an affiliate, and then the funding, of course, for the match. But it could be a school or a 501c3 nonprofit or other organization.
And Rob, I know the state library is working diligently to build out Indiana's team, so I'm sure they could be available for questions as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you both for sharing this information, and to Governor Holcomb and the General Assembly for getting us to this place. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney to just give a brief scorecard update on how we're doing on the Elac roadmap, and then we'll hear from Monroe Smart Start.
Awesome. Thank you, Maureen. A couple of things I want to update our board on, as well as the public. We have our annual report coming due soon. Our recommendations to the Indiana General Assembly is due at the end of November. Based on our submission last year, which was a 3-year plan, we are going to update that and resubmit with progress as well as any updates. So I wanted to use a little bit of this time to let you know where we're at with a lot of these projects, welcoming any comments or discussion or questions around it. And then also for the Elac members, this will be the time between now and our next meeting when we can make edits. So that is a pretty exciting thing. We've actually gotten a lot done this year, which is very exciting. So I will hit the ground running. Define kindergarten readiness and update standards, that is actually completed. Dr. Cervisi's team at the Department of Education worked very hard with FSSA and other stakeholders, internal and external, on getting the kindergarten readiness standards completed. They were approved by the State Board of Education in June, is that correct? Yes, June, and they are out there and we are starting professional development. So very exciting work there. Build and deploy an assessment system. This is in progress. Dr. Cervisi's team also recently released an RFP for the assessment. Very excited to see where that goes in the coming months. Update the paths to quality to incorporate objective measures of qualities. We are working on recommendations right now for 1591, which is our legislative charge to look at recommendations for a new paths to quality system in Indiana. Again, the next couple are also related to paths to quality, so those are all in process. We're going to continue to work on implementing strategy for kindergarten readiness with FSSA and the Department of Education. And then lastly, on this slide, work with our data systems and technology to improve the analytics through that process. We are also in process there. All of this work has begun and will continue to move throughout the next few years. Any questions on that first improve kindergarten learning priority 1 slide, improve learning and kindergarten readiness? Cool. Okay. This next one has lots of fun, exciting things on it. Increase the supply and sustainability of high quality providers. This was our second priority of ELAC. We have improved and increased our reimbursement rates to improve provider sustainability. We've switched, as we talked about, to a cost-based reimbursement model that FSSA has rolled out this year and will continue to roll out. This is a really exciting and innovative way to look at it. We are one of the first states in the nation to really roll this out. And we are really being looked to as a leader in that innovative area. We are working on encouraging rewarding operational efficiency for scale for high quality providers. This is in process. Next meeting, you will hear from the team at OE-COSL. There has been a recent policy update to encourage expansion among all provider auspices to encourage growth and expansion. So we will hear from them next meeting about that. And also plug for Courtney Penn's town hall meetings. So I think they're going to talk about that there too. So definitely attend that. So that is in process. A really big high priority for 2024 year would be to work on that streamlined pathway for LEAs to the local education agencies to work through path to quality to get the On My Way pre-K dollars accessible. So that is high priority for 2024. Enable new models of care. All of this is in process. Increasing scholarship supports, using matching workforce funds. All of these items are things that we've touched on in previous meetings. So we are in process with all of these things. increase affordability for families, particularly vulnerable families. We have completed the income eligibility expansion for CCDF vouchers that started August 1st, correct? Yes, August 1st, that went live. So now we have a higher threshold for CCDF vouchers, which is incredibly exciting. We have expanded On My Way pre-K as well from this past legislative session. We are working on aligning the voucher process to align with K-12 when possible to increase that ease of access and really target families earlier that are going to continue in the voucher process. And then we have done this and will continue to do this to improve business sector support through technical assistance and tax credits. So we do have the most recent tax credit available for businesses to get involved in early learning. And then we are continuing to work on technical assistance and get them more involved. And you'll hear a little bit more about the employer expansion grant later today that was born through this. Lastly, our priority 4 was to improve and increase system capacity. Again, we are in process for all of these bullets, which is very exciting. Focusing on system level improvements, blanket waivers, statutory and regulatory environment, streamlining, all of these words that you see on here, all things we're focusing on through the charge of House Enrolled Act 1591, which I will go into an update about a little bit later, where Elac is charged with giving recommendations for the new paths to quality system, as well as obtaining a third-party evaluation on our regulatory space in the work. And we want to ensure that we give recommendations that not only streamline, but remove any regulatory burdens that are there for our providers. So lots of really exciting stuff happening there. And I would love to, at this point, open it up for the members to give forth any discussion on this topic, on our roadmap, anything you would like to see added, anything you would like to see adjusted or given any details. Here's a great time for your input. You can also contact me and we can have discussions as over the next 8 weeks before our next meeting.
Courtney, and am I correct that you're working on kind of a progress plan or map that will show sort of when we can expect some of these things that are in progress to be completed and that we might share with them in the next meeting as well?
Yes, we will definitely bring that to the next meeting, and I will touch on some of the times today as well. Timelines for those.
Great. Questions from others?
I just like to comment, Courtney, I appreciate your update. And I'm glad to see the streamlined platform for LEAs is a high priority in order to qualify for Paths to Quality Level 3, and also aligning the voucher process with K through 12 schools to ease the administration. I've got some anecdotal examples from area superintendents or from other superintendents. And I think really it's a challenge for the smaller schools, the smaller rural schools who don't have the staff. And I've been given some examples of just how difficult and how many hoops they have to jump through in the Paths to Quality process. I will say in all cases, they commend the staff that they're working with and said everyone is very helpful. Everyone is very friendly, but there's just so much red tape involved that is really frustrating to try to get schools eligible to receive those On My Way pre-K dollars or to become an LLEP and receive the CDF dollars. And I think when it comes to barriers, those are some barriers that we need to continue to work to try to remove. And I know you have a lot of support for that. But again, I really think it's the smaller rural schools where you have maybe one superintendent without an assistant superintendent, without someone to really carry the ball on that to devote full time, because all the hoops you have to jump through really it almost takes someone full time doing that. So we just feel like as accredited K through 12 providers, we already qualify and should already qualify in that. So Maureen, I know that I pound this same drum pretty much every meeting, but I appreciate seeing that there's progress, and I just want to continue to speak up for those in that situation.
Could I add a little to that as well?
Sure.
So I'd like to echo a lot what Rob has said. I think we do kind of have this rhythm. We've done this our past Elac meetings. You know, as he's speaking from smaller districts, I have to say that even larger districts, we're facing many barriers as well. So I think just overall, we appreciate the fact that there is a look into what's happening with school districts trying to access PTQ and the On My Way funds. I would like to say and commend that we have noticed a difference this school year already. So we've, Forming Community Schools has participated in the expedited pathway from programs that were already nationally accredited to go straight to level 4. And then, of course, receive the On My Way ability to accept On My Way dollars. We started this path in about 2016, but we never really, or I should say this, the return on investment for the work it took to do that, we had not really been able to see all along. We had very few families that were able to enroll successfully in the program. But this year, for the 23-24 school year, we have seen the most On My Way school enrollment within our district. We more than doubled what we've ever had with our numbers. So the process itself has already seemed a lot smoother for families, just almost a switch was turned if they were already receiving CCDF, straight to the On My Way voucher. We've never seen it this easy before. So, we're excited. We're seeing some of the changes already, and we look forward to more expansion.
Can you hear me? This is Mark.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go
Okay.
right ahead, Mark.
Hey, it wouldn't surprise you to know that I'm going to ask a question about the private sector, and I'm particularly interested in the bullet point that you mentioned about tax incentives and so forth to for early learning in the private sector, and I think it's timely because, and I'm glad to see that there's some motion there. So because the competition in the labor market is so tight, especially up here in Northwest Indiana, that anything that we can do to add, to make it more attractive to get somebody to come work for us, which may include this, and the tax incentive is a very big piece of that. So my question is, when will more detail about what that exactly that is be available, and where could we go to find that?
We have a brief update on the employer supported care coming yet this meeting, right? And so that's one component of it. I've not heard the updates on the tax credit itself. And so
We're waiting on guidance from the
Department of Revenue.
DOR, yes. So we have contacted their group and we are waiting on their official legislative guidance. And we'll share that out as soon as we have it.
So I think we'll have some of the answers here in a little while, and more yet to come, Mark. Very fair, I think. I will say, and you see it just in the number of things in progress, as an outsider, I have been grateful for the level of urgency that the governor's office, FSSA, IDOE have all shown around some of these big issues that we talk about all the time. And, they're hairy and difficult. They're not one meeting kinds of issues to figure out how to re-regulate an industry. But behind the scenes, there's a great deal of progress that is going on. And I think the sooner we can get that in front of this group, the better off we'll all feel. So that we can understand sort of when that's going to come to fruition for folks. So I appreciate all the work there and the updates, Courtney.
Awesome, thanks.
With that, we're going to change gears a little bit, but to talk about an issue that in some ways permeates all of our priorities and has been on all of our minds also, I think, for pretty much every meeting from the start, which is the challenges of the early learning workforce. And the part of the state we're in right now has been really leading the way in helping providers tackle this, at least one important aspect of this work. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Myers to share the good work that's been happening here.
All right. Oh, I'm gonna rock, paper, scissors. Well, good
And
afternoon.
Courtney, sorry, I didn't mean to not turn it over to both of you. I just can't read that far. So
No worries. I'm talking a few times this afternoon, so there'll be plenty of more opportunities. So hi, my name is Courtney Penn. I am the director of the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning. Happy to be here with my partner support in this initiative of the Substitute Educator Project, Jennifer Myers. And I'll let her introduce herself as we get into the slides. I think it might be a little. confusing. So I'm gonna tee us up and she's gonna bring us on home. Oh, yeah, we have our, sorry.
One moment, I think we're going to switch sides, maybe.
Yeah. Well, while Courtney's doing that, those who know me know I don't mind talking. So while Courtney's doing that, I'll just give a little context verbally of what what I was wanting to tee up here, which is really, gosh, a year and a half ago, the state of Indiana understood that there was a need for workforce support, especially coming out of the pandemic, of folks who a very stretched field already that was even more burdened down after folks either didn't return back to work or weren't able to return back to work, whatever the capacity was for being in the field of early care and education. And so having that understanding, the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning understood that that need was there. And this actually precedes me in this particular role. I was actually the director of childcare licensing when this work first took wings, for lack of better words, of really trying to figure out, okay, we know that there's a need out there. And I think this was actually birthed at a shared services conference with Jennifer and my predecessor, Nicole, just to have some initial conversations about what could it look like if the state decided to engage in a substitute educator opportunity or shared services opportunity, and who would be a good partner to lean into who's already doing some really strategic work in that space on a local level that we could pilot that with. And so I don't want to get in front of Jennifer's thunder here, but Jennifer Myers and Monroe, and the work with Monroe Smart Start has been very essential to this project. And I know that a lot of times it just sounds like, oh, we're just, putting people in spaces, but there's so much more work that went into just getting the system ready for all the things that we were trying to incorporate. So again, understanding what was the true need, and then taking that need and then venturing it out with the partner work that we're doing here together. And then next, looking at the opportunity. So again, our work with Monroe Smart Start, as we look through that collaboration and having many meetings with my team, and as I transitioned into this role and the new licensing director, all that licensing team, the legal team at FSSA, those who work diligently to build and restructure our system where providers go to do their applications. Because one, we saw that the licensing team, there were often times where people were being cited out, programs were being cited for having somebody who was either not connected to them in that system, or they didn't have the right documentation on them, or they had the documentation, or it was with somebody in a folder someplace where they didn't have access to it. So the goal was to really build a repository of where childcare providers could lean in to know that these were tried and true caregivers who could be able to support them in their work. And so that lift was more than, I'll just speak for myself, that lift was more than I think I ever even fathomed, as far as how it looked across the board and all the different opportunities that we thought through of how that could look in real life. And so with that being said, I'll pass the mic over to, literally and figuratively, to Jennifer to share more about the work that she's been helping lead.
That work was more than I could fathom too. We were being transparent here, right? So, yeah, good afternoon. Thank you, members of Elac, again, for allowing us to host you. It's been a privilege and an honor. Extremely grateful for the partnership with OECASL to actually bring this vision to life. Courtney just was a little bit modest in her what it is that she painted the picture as far as all the work that's gone through with her team. But it's been a team effort, 17 months and counting, really weekly meetings, most time, and sometimes bi-weekly, but from legal within FSSA through licensing. I know Tequila's here today. Through our local licensing agent, Ron, is here today for us. And so, lots of strategic partnerships, Indiana AYC with our workforce coordinator and that role of getting someone work ready and what that might look like in our community. And then, all the other OECASL team that just came and continue to show up. So the build out of the iLead system, I know everyone
is so excited, right? You hear about the substitute project. We get a lot of calls around the state to say, how can we do this? We're ready to start. And so, you want it to work right whenever you come on board. And so I think that's the goal, and they're making it work right. So the ILE team with Tyler Tech and TCC and all the work for CCIS behind the scenes, it's been a monster. But it's working. And so that's the good news, right? It's working. So just a little bit about Monroe Smart Start for those that are on the call that maybe don't know about our work. So we are a leadership initiative of our community foundation in Bloomington, Monroe County. We've been at this for 16 years now. I've been in my current role for going on 13. Really just working around providing access and increasing quality within our community and also within our region. Quality cohorts is one way that we're able to partner with providers and level them up in Indiana's pastoral quality rating system. 60 providers we've worked with to date, increasing their level 1 or more in Indiana's pastoral quality by 75% and affecting impacting 1,400 children. So proud of that and all that's been done in that work. I'm have some slides and they're not sliding because I'm not clicking. Through our foundation grants, 140 children now within our community have access to free pre-K through our partnership with our school corporation and kind of some braiding and blending of funding, particularly Title I, to allow those seats to be filled. And through foundation grants and our ability to be able to secure state grants and local partnerships, we've been able to provide 640 additional seats within our community that weren't here before our work began. So lots of work, no doubt, has been done relative to access and quality, but the early learning workforce challenges is one that continues to plague the sector's ability to operate at full capacity and thrive as small businesses. We knew that that's where our efforts needed to lie. And so we see that as a long-term solution to the early learning workforce challenges. So 5 years ago, we began priming our early learning community to implement a shared services model. Over 2 years ago, we launched a shared services alliance in Monroe County, and members of our hub have access to 2 automated softwares, one being Wonder School and the next being Childcare Matters. So thanks to funding from Early Learning Indiana, we're changing our existing early learning landscape and building a better future, not only for childcare businesses, but children and families they serve through Indiana's Stronger Together initiative. Our hub is comprised of 14 level 3 and 4 programs here within our county with a collective capacity that serves 770 children. Wonder School supports the business and operational needs among our members, and Childcare Matters is our solution to the workforce challenges. We know that childcare is essential for a community to thrive, and high quality care is a foundational need for children's development and well-being. Staff need the opportunity to step away, right, from their classroom to get professional development, to meet personal needs, with an assurance that well-prepared individuals can step in when they have to step out. And so our subpool fills that gap for immediate absences, but also long-term or planned absences as well. It provides an opportunity for paid planning time for family childcare homes. It's a luxury, something they've never, ever known before that they get now. And our subpool meets the emergent needs of educator substitutes while providing an opportunity for us to build a pipeline of future talent through apprenticeships and mentor programs that can provide additional support and fast track opportunities to get a CDA and help to skill up this workforce a little more quickly. So Childcare Matters, that is an easy to use platform that our Alliance members engage with that connects an early learning substitute educator, I'm going to acronym it from here, ELSE, to temporary positions, all from a mobile device or a tablet. So super easy. And this 1 minute and 30-second video is going to highlight exactly what happens when a childcare director or family childcare home owner pushes out a substitute position and how an LC actually takes it.
We know that childcare matters. And when it comes to a child's development, early childhood educators play an essential role in helping our children prepare for school and for life. We also know that a childcare system that supports its educators is one that best serves our children and our community. That's why Monroe Smart Start has launched Smart Start Childcare, This easy-to-use platform connects early learning substitute educators to temporary jobs in local childcare programs. Qualified educators can set up profiles, see job openings, and apply immediately from a mobile device or computer. When childcare programs need substitute educators, positions are posted to the platform and you get notified via email and text message. With one click from a phone or computer, you can apply for substitute positions. Childcare programs then review your profile and you receive a text alert when you're hired. Smart Start Childcare offers flexibility to choose the position that works for you, reliable pay or extra income, the opportunity to gain experience in childcare programs before accepting a full-time position, relationship building within the childcare industry, and the ability to do the work you love in a way that works best for you. Smart Start Childcare is easy, fast, and efficient because we know childcare matters.
So over the last 6 months, we've really been able to see some notable outcomes for our community just in this 7-month launch of this subpool. So for our programs, no more calls to families saying that they need to stagger arrival times because they're short-staffed. No more, cancellations or delay of family members being able to have access into their tuition seat. For as a community, what dollars that's going back in, we've had over $28,000 that LC's wages have been put back into our community through Workforce Lend. So that's pretty awesome as well. We launched in February with one substitute and matched that one substitute intentionally with one program. We wanted to see how it was going to work, how you get it right. We wanted to work out those kinks before we sent that sub to other places. So then in March, we added in one more. And then as of April, we were up to 4. That felt pretty great for the number of programs in our alliance, but we knew that we probably needed about 5 full-timers really to feel like it was comfortable for us. And then IU broke for, the semester and we were back to rebuilding. So there's definitely these seasons of change of where you feel like, wow, this is really working, to all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we need to hire so many people. So summer was our hiring month. We onboarded 10 LCs all at the same time. So having those 12 LCs, all that talent, it was heaven. I think for our programs, anyone that wanted a sub position could hire. In fact, they had their choices a lot of times between the number of people and applicants that were applying for a job. Then classes started at IU and we were kind of back to rebuilding. We're short on Tuesday, Thursday talent right now. And so we're really hitting that hard and trying to build up that pipeline. Through our substitute educators, we, like I said, have a lot of IU students. And so really doing a multitude of studying, not all early childhood as you would think, and not even education. Believe it or not, our biggest talent recruitment right now is through the School of Psychology. Really anyone that needs to have opportunities for seeing the natural maturation of a child's young brain, they're a perfect match for this pipeline. And so that's been really great to see that as well. Just a little bit of data, and I think for time's sake, I'll probably just hit a couple and then let people see those slides because I know they have a full agenda here. But, really proud points from this data overview is that 66% of our jobs that have been posted have been worked. And so, I would love it to be 100% in a perfect world, but I'll take 66% with a 7-month launch and, it all being brand new. I know our programs get frustrated sometimes when they have a position and can't get it filled. But right now we're sitting at 15 LCs and 14 programs. And so, gosh, that's pretty great when at the beginning we thought we just want 5. So no doubt we continue to need to add in more, and we're working hard to do that. 13 of the 14 LCs, I think this is a point maybe to mention to the group, is that they all have some type of college credentialing, whether it's an associate's, a bachelor's degree. We have 1 with a master's and 3 with doctorates. 1 actually is an earned doctorate and the other 2 are PhD students. I think that's really phenomenal when you see that talent coming into these programs. They're super confident professionals. They can step right in and fill that role. And that's pretty awesome. So in a recent survey with providers, we found that in the process of working through the state system, that they all were super complimentary of iLead and just all of that and being able to maneuver that. So I think that feels good for the OE CASEL team to really see that, hey, this is working on that side too. The uploading of documentation into iLead was definitely something as a partner that we said, we really need this. Safeguarding the information among LC didn't feel good to a foundation with endowed dollars. We didn't want access should someone fail a drug test, but we really wanted them to be able to upload that documentation and have it be viewed by all of those programs in our alliance. And so kudos to OE CASEL and that team for making that work as well. We set the rate at $17 per hour pay for an LC. So all the programs that participate in our alliance have to pay their substitute $17. It's non-negotiable. And we did that very intentionally. We surveyed a lot of the businesses here to say, gosh, what would attract someone to this workforce and make them stay? And I'm confident we got that right. Through some grant funding, we're able to step in and help our programs fill that gap, because many of them don't pay $17 per hour. So having some grant funding to help support that workforce is supplying the workforce that was missing early on. So, something I would recommend as a community being able to explore this is to really think about leveraging your community support and how you would actually help to support the wages. And then I think our LCs have really, echo back positive feedback. The ease of uploading documents, like I said, into iLead is great for them. The clarity of the mandatory requirements at 80% there. Many say that, there is clarity. No doubt, many of you and all of you that have gone through the state system and have accounts with iLead and Indiana Learning Pass. There's a lot that has to be done before someone can step into a classroom. We've learned all of those things firsthand, but then through the lens of our LCs, we really get to see what resonates with them. Of those 20 hours that are mandatory and required for someone to step into a caregiver role, what's beneficial. Today on our tour, we had one of our LCs that said, gosh, 20 hours seemed like a lot, but one of the first times that she took a job, she had a child that was choking. And so we kind of forget that when we get into those thinking, gosh, it's 20 hours. How are we asking so many people to do so many things? And then you hear that story and you think, well, thank goodness, right? That we're asking people to do those things. So one of the great member services that our alliance members have gotten is some business coaching. And so we've been able to leverage some funding to be able to provide that support. So with help of Transform Consulting Group, we did a 6-month contract with our hub members and really trying to uncover what their true cost of care might be. And in doing so, what is the cost of their turnover? Super important for us to understand, as we know that they're, bleeding workforce needs, but they're also sometimes having a revolving door of people coming in and out, and knowing that it takes about $125 per person to get them ready to step into a classroom. These are some dollars that we wanted to help them save. You can see as a hub as a whole, that's $831,000 that our hub members lost through that staff turnover from March 2022 to March 2023. So as leading this alliance, we want to drive down that number, but we want to try to uncover some good strategies that they can use so that they can raise the wages, right, of people that are there. They can use the substitute pool to step in when they need it. And there's some creativity of being able to do that, right? If they have someone that's coming in on site that they're considering hiring, but they're not quite sure if they're a perfect fit, we've encouraged our alliance members to put them in the sub pipeline. We'll get them ready to work. We'll do the cost of that for them. So if they're saving costs there, they can trial them and then hire them if it's a good fit. Oh yeah, my favorite slide. These are our LCs. In order that we onboarded them. That's how we chose to put them up there. So I love seeing these faces and just remembering, all the walks of life, what they represent, and all of their, all that they bring to our classrooms. 3 of those faces up there have a lot of experience in providing services for children on the autism spectrum. I love that they can bring that. A lot of mental health supports. We're onboarding a nurse just this week. We started onboarding her today. So, you can see just the wide variety of walks of life up there. Okay, I could talk in depth about one. Oh, I got to tell you one story though. Top right corner, you'll see that little, that cute little couple. So, Parker and Alexa, they're engaged. So we have our first Elsie wedding. So I think that's going to be a fun story. They got engaged in London. Yeah.
Not one of your original objectives though, right?
It wasn't one of our original objectives, but we're going to own that one because that's such a fun story. Yeah. So in an effort to recruit LCs and early childhood educators, we produced a series that we call Voices from the Field. It was really, a way of doing just that. We wanted to lift up the need for people going into this field, people that go into this field, choose this field, stay in this field. And, and if they don't and they have talent to give, we have a place for them, right, through this substitute pipeline. So I thought it would be great just for you to hear from some local talent around what the most rewarding parts about being an early educator is in this field, and then just invite you to visit our YouTube channel where you can see the series in full.
When I think about the rewards of working with young children and their families, it's similar to the rewards of being a master gardener or a farmer. You're working with fertile grounds. You've got students who are so ready to come in and play and touch, explore and be friends. And you have families who desperately want those things for their children. And you've got families who want your partnership. They want to know, how do I help my child? How do I support my child through these early years? And being an early childhood educator, you get to be the partner that those children and those families need.
So number one that comes to my mind is the relationships that I have between the child and the families and myself. Another thing that's rewarding to me is when they're in my care, they may be doing something that developmentally they should not be doing something, and they're progressing at a higher level, and it just makes me proud that they're doing so well.
I think the most rewarding part about my job is watching not only the families and children's grow, but also in my new role, watching educators grow. It's really empowering to see when we start as really new educators and blossom into where we feel confident and we're really able to help children thrive.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. We've probably gotten closer than you wanted to over the last year and a half. And I appreciate the time and investment that it's taken to get us here and where we will continue to go in this work.
Wonderful. Thank you for that presentation and for your partnership with them through the Office of Early Childhood. I think we're going to switch back here one more time. And then we're going to really see if Courtney Hott can multitask, because she's next up to provide a priority level or priority 1 update around improving learning and readiness for kindergarten. And I think she's just going to update us. We had, of course, an extensive conversation last time, hearing around the plans around 1591. And I think we've got just a brief update today.
Maureen, can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Just a real quick question about your onboarding process. I know it's 20 hours of training, but about how long does that take for you all?
If you don't mind coming back, just so we can make sure the folks on the phone can hear it.
Yeah, so the onboarding, as far as like readying them with the mandatory requirements, it can take as soon as 2 weeks, we've noticed, all the way up to a month. It really just depends on how quickly someone wants to go through and really check all the boxes for all the things. If they need CPR and first aid, if they, all that, right? Completing the surface hours or the training hours. So 2 weeks to a month.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question.
Sure. Sorry. Don't go anywhere, Jennifer.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Sherry, please.
So we're so excited about this pilot and the success that you're seeing. Is there any kind of plan in place for when this might be available to others in the state who are excited about this?
I'll take this one, or we can tag team it. I actually had a slide about this one, but I decided not to go back for the sake of time. But yes, Jennifer is going to be part of phase 2, where she's going to do some more intensive outreach to her local area. And then we've also extended this pilot because we wanted to see, to Jennifer's point, how it looks in places where there's not a thriving Big Ten school, right? And so the thought is that we will now partner in phase 2, starting actually later, the latter part of this month, with providers the local childcare resource and referral agency helped us get connected with local entities and organizations in Lake County and Vanderburgh County. And so we're going to be in the northern and the southern part of the state as well. So now we'll have what it looks like in a more rural component of the state, and then you're more urban up in the Lake County area of the state, and then further south. And then after that, using that data to really drive what that looks like for a statewide rollout once we have multiple entities engaging within the system.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sorry, colleagues. All right. With that, I'll turn it back over to Courtney.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Maureen. Some exciting updates for 1591, which is our charges for Elac this year from the Indiana legislature. We are, as we mentioned last time, we are partnering with the Policy Equity Group out of Washington, D.C., who are experts in policy, large-scale policy for early learning. Very excited about the wealth of knowledge that they bring to the table. So we are starting off by getting our stakeholder group list finalized. We are almost done. Our members have seen that list and have the opportunity to add anyone that they have wanted to that list, as well as we've worked with plenty of internal and external stakeholders to get a group of well-rounded people engaged. We will have our Elac members, obviously, as part of it. We will also have legislators. We will have families represented, providers, and people from the licensing work group will be contacted as well. And lastly, the QRIS raters, because if we're going to implement a new system, we need to talk to people who are actually going to do the rating. So we hope that we have accomplished our goal of getting individuals from across the state, as well as different auspices in different parts of different businesses and other stakeholders that are not just early learning providers. Some examples of that. Well, where did my slideshow go? Hey, Ted, do you know where the slideshow went? So I will pull it up on my computer, so I will keep talking about that. So we're working on finalizing that list. It is for the most part finalized. We are going to have a process to engage families. We're going to work with our on my way pre-K managers, eligibility offices, and policy consultants in order to talk to the families. We want to talk with people that they are most comfortable talking with, right? So an email from me is not going to be as effective as talking to someone that they know and trust through the entire process. So very excited to communicate with our families and get them engaged in this process. First contact with all of our members should be, all of our stakeholder groups that are being invited should go out this week. And the first virtual stakeholder group meeting will be with parents, and it will be on September 22nd. So we are rocking and rolling with our past quality recommendations report. First part is gathering all the information and gathering as much data as we possibly can. And then that will include a state survey across all the states in the United States and see what's working, what's not, what we want to build from, what we don't, where we can eliminate barriers, where we can be the best that we can possibly be. So very exciting work there on the forefront, and happy to take any questions associated with that as well.
We're on a quick timeline for that. So before the end of the year, right?
Yeah,
we will be given an opportunity to approve. So
yes, yeah. So we will be looking at that in-depth next meeting, and then we will probably have to have a special meeting to approve it because it's due December 30th.
Courtney, do you have the timeline for the other stakeholders? Like when, with the first one being with the parents, September 22nd, what's the?
We have not scheduled it yet for the external stakeholders that's coming. It will be done this week, the date. Good question.
And some of that other landscape review and other work is happening in parallel,
Yes.
right? So
Yep.
these things are coming together, hopefully in a way that we can start to weigh in
It is.
meaningfully.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, great. Then priority 3, nothing to report, I don't think, on priority 2 this month. But priority 3, we do have an update to Mark's earlier question, at least tangentially, around the employer-sponsored grants.
Yeah, so I will just go ahead and proceed and we'll slide on accordingly. So as Maureen mentioned, yes, I do have an update as it pertains to the employer-sponsored childcare fund. So just to refresh everyone's memory, this is the $25 million in federal relief dollars that was called in the Governor Holcomb's next level agenda as it pertained to increasing access for high quality seats in our state. And so again, this particular initiative is based around being able to offer opportunities for employers to be able to assist their employees with being able to find and pay for and fund childcare. So there's a few ways that can happen. So what we have that is updated from the last time we met is a more curated list of what those allowable uses of funding would look like. So a few of those things there are a few pieces that fall within buckets of what is a possible benefit. So what are there opportunities where there's a shared model where the employee and the employer are both putting into a benefit that can be leveraged for their employees to use on or near site care. So actually building or establishing built seats. There's also opportunity for an employee to just decide, hey, I'm going to give X amount of dollars for employees to support their tuition, pay their employees tuition for their children. Also opportunity for an employer to come alongside with a local high quality childcare provider and have set aside or reserve seats at those settings where they are funding those seats where they are set aside specifically for their employees. Also considerations for funding for backup care. So those opportunities where employees or employers may have something, whether it is already on site or other opportunities where holidays, closures and things like that come up and employees need backup care. Is there a set aside bucket to support, when life happens as a parent and you have to work? And then two opportunities that actually came out of some really great collaborative meeting opportunities that my office had with the Indiana Chamber and some other local business coalitions and entities who have really given us some really great insight on what this could really look like in this space, with the understanding that typically employers aren't really always necessarily knocking at my door trying to figure out ways that they can impact childcare. But we know that they're as part of the economic rebuild work that we're trying to do and workforce work, that this all aligns nicely. So I think somebody else said it earlier today that the pump is primed, right, and ready for these opportunities to be at the table. And so that's an exciting point. But again, so a couple of additional considerations that were brought up in those conversations is where could there be a tri-share model where the local community using this federal relief dollars and also the employer comes together. We've seen successes of this happen in other states where this tri-share model works. So I am interested to see if and when employers engage with this opportunity, what that looks like and how we leverage that data to further drive the workforce work moving forward and access work. And then another consideration that came up in those conversations was based around the bucketing of business sizes. So some of the initial conversations were around 20 and up. And I think that kind of was trying to align itself again to the point earlier around what could possibly the tax credit look like and be impactful in that way. But also the consideration that we know that there are smaller entities that do need that support. And so with that, we came up with the community infrastructure investments where a local coalition, a business entity could possibly have a bucket of other smaller businesses with under it that applies for those smaller entities on its own to support them in their work. So that was another way that we were able to still meet the need of supplying the fund to a larger, more sustainable entity, but also being able to still support those smaller business owners as well, because we know that the need is there also. So again, really leaning into the expertise of those business owners who know what their employees need and they know what they're interested in leveraging to support them was a great effort to have that collaboration. So further in that collaboration, the Indiana Chamber and local chambers are also helping us with marketing, not only just a subject matter expert as we navigate through some of these uncharted waters, but also there to support us with marketing. We'll be hosting an informational webinar about this opportunity where the chamber will be partnering alongside of us with information and helping us get to some of the key folks who they have access to, again, who don't necessarily know who the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning is, and helping us make that reach and build the most impact as possible. And so within that bucket, we also have a vast array of things that we are already purposely planning because of that, where we will have very intentional training and technical assistance or coaching and training support for the businesses on the childcare side, and then leaning into the expertise of the chamber to be more effective in the way of what do businesses need and how are they thriving, and what hands-on and regional supports would be very beneficial and helpful to them.
Courtney, can I ask you a question about that?
Yep.
School corporations are eligible for this as well, correct?
That's correct.
So if I could just make a quick plug.
Sure.
Again, back to the Indiana Learning Lab on October the 4th from 4 to 4:30 p.m. The IDOE, as well as the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning, will be hosting a webinar for school corporations that are interested in this grant and how it can apply to them. And there will be a series of informational sessions in the weeks following on how to build that type of program for your district and your corporation. And more information will be coming out about that shortly. But again, October the 4th, school districts can see how the opportunity does apply to them.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
What is the name of the grant? What is it?
Funny
Is it
you should ask.
established yet?
That's like the running joke, Kim. We are just calling it Indiana's Employer Sponsored Childcare Fund. I think we're trying to get out of the fun nickname game. No, but all jokes aside, I think because we are working with an industry that is not very familiar with us, we're just trying to be very straightforward in what it is. But I had the very same question early on. And so just to really cap this up really quickly, again, I know I mentioned the informational webinar. I know that Kelly just shared what IDOE is doing as well, but just also know that we plan to have toolkits and other resources available so that as people are reaching out and as you all are aware of businesses and other entities who might be interested in this opportunity, that you'll have almost like some grab and go information that could be helpful in helping us with the outreach about this initiative.
So Courtney, this is Madeline.
Hi, Madeline.
Sorry, I can't be there in person, but I've been listening intently. And first of all, I think everyone who's been involved in these different projects and initiatives, applause to all of you. My question is, as it was mentioned earlier about, the tax credits for employers are being worked through the Department of Revenue. I think the other Courtney had mentioned that. Do you know when those details may be coming out?
About the tax credit?
Yeah.
No, much like Courtney Hott mentioned earlier, we're working very closely with the state as another division of the state with Department of Workforce Development and the Department of Economic Development as we get closer to some clarity around that. But again, I am hopeful that the information that comes out of this work right here further solidifies the fact that was a great necessary need, and that these two opportunities will couple themselves nicely once we have more information about that opportunity. And I will kind of like Kelly do a not so shameless plug about upcoming engagements with the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning. So stay tuned if you're not already tapped into opportunities to learn more about the offerings and things that are happening, which is we plan to very soon promote the mid-October, my quarterly town halls. We'll all talk a little bit more about this opportunity as well. And then also, I know that we had some questions in last month's meeting about what is the fiscal relief, federal relief updates around those fiscal pieces from the COVID relief dollars and where we're at with that, and where we have, as we work our way into September of 2024, having all those dollars spent out. So that will be part of that conversation as well. Updates on both grant opportunities, so the child care expansion grant and the employer facing grant that I just mentioned, and then other upcoming initiatives as well.
Any other questions for Courtney around priority 3?
Oh, Kim's got one.
So that employer grant, is that coming from the federal relief dollars also?
Yes.
So the end would be September 24.
Right.
For
So
that. Okay.
the main bucket of these funds, right, comes out of those federal relief dollars, so that we're moving quick.
All right. Well, then I think, and apologies about the slides. I don't know if we're making progress there or not.
It is a statewide issue.
Okay.
So we're working on it. We have it streaming online. So those of us that are following virtually will be able to see it. And we are working furiously to try to get it up here. So
Great. We're doing charades here in the room for
Yes.
those of you who are wondering what's
And I
going
hope
on.
For
So
those
we lost our.
members that have.
We lost our slides.
computers, I will forward out the link right now. to the
Okay,
slides.
no worries. And Courtney's doing a great job giving a voiceover to it. So as we turn to priority 4, I'll invite Sue McKinney on up, who I think is going to share. And first, Courtney, if I'm not mistaken, you have a couple of quick updates on the licensing work group progress.
Yes. So very exciting. I am happy with, and I think next week, actually, I will have some time in front of that group again to circle back, as I told them that I would check in with them quarterly about updates, lean into them about what their thoughts are, and stay connected to that key group of folks. And I do want to share some things that are happening in the background around the recommendations that came out of that work group. So we have, with some of the federal relief dollars, been able to leverage a lawyer who is literally taking the licensing rules and regulations and really doing a very deep dive analysis of where those things, again, based on some of the recommendations, but just overarchingly, like what are the things that are truly CCDF health and safety versus what are those things that could actually bode themselves better to being part of a QRIS component. And so really digging deep and identifying those pieces, you really do start to see very quickly where there are disparities and some unnecessary burdens that are being addressed across the board. So more to come as we continue to do that discovery work, but that is happening right now. And again, just want to call in the fact that one of the few of the key things that we heard out of the recommendations for the work group were, hey, we understand that you may not be able to change the rules and regulations overnight, but what you can do effectively very quickly is think differently about how you structure the work and the access to the work and the access to your team and the supports that are given equitably across the board to providers. So we heard you, and we have been able to add 2 emerging provider specialists to the licensing team at the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning, who are specifically going to be poised and ready to work hand in hand with folks as they are going through the regulatory process. Again, I know that the real win, I hear you, Maureen, that the real win is not needing to be handheld, but until we can get there, we want to be very intentional about what we can do internally to really support people along the journey into licensure and then on therefore. So excited about that work, and then working with a third-party vendor to also help us with our internal processes to make sure that the look and feel of your licensing experience feels the same, no matter whether I'm out, Tequila's out, anybody is out, that your process, it feels more like a coaching and more of a supportive role versus a we got you and we're here to not be your friend. We want to partner with providers. We want to come beside you and be that support. And so all those things are happening in the background. And I really just wanted to kind of shout out all the great work that happened in with the recommendations and the work that the licensing work group did, and let everyone know that those things are being heard and they are happening, being respectfully responded to in the background.
Great. And if I recall, and Courtney Hatt's going to check my math here, 1591 also requires us to make formal recommendations by June 30th of next year around the regulatory environment. So we will not take our foot off the gas there. And I really appreciate that the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning has taken the opportunity to think about their operational changes at the same time we think about the statutory and regulatory work that might lie ahead. So thank you for that. And then lastly, on priority 4, this is a bit unusual for us, but we thought that there were things going on, not at the state level, but at the federal level that were interesting enough and related enough to the system priorities that we established in the Elac plan that we wanted to invite someone in to make sure that we were all aware of what's going on from that federal rulemaking perspective, as it will have implications for the work here in Indiana. So Sue McKinney has been gracious enough to agree to do just that. For those of you who are here in the room, at least of the committee members, you should have the slide deck by now in your email. And so others, you'll be able to access it online if you can't right now through the streaming, but hopefully one way or another, you have access to these slides as Sue goes through them.
All right, thanks, Maureen. As Maureen said, I'm Sue McKinney. I'm the Director of Operations for the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning, and I'm here to talk about the new proposed federal rules. Can everybody hear me?
No, will you pull it closer?
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so the new proposed federal rule focuses on 4 key areas: lowering family costs, increasing childcare options, strengthening payment practices for childcare providers, and making enrollment easier for families. I think it's important to point out that this doesn't happen very often. This is the first new proposed rule since 2016. So this is kind of a big deal. And we're also very excited about it. The estimated timeline is this. The proposed rule was published July 13th. They allowed public comment through August 28th. ACF is now reviewing those comments and working on a final rule. They estimate that they will publish the final rule in 2024, and then it'll be effective 60 days later. And then the next slides, I'm going to highlight the key components of the new rule, but then also share where we are in Indiana and what work we might have to do to get there. So, but I think you're going to see one key component now that everyone can see the slides again. We believe that the 4 Elac priorities apply to all of these components. So the first component is encouraging states to pay the established subsidy rate. And so what this involves is setting a rate that aligns with the cost of providing care and paying that rate regardless of what the providers may charge their private pay families. And so for this component, we feel like we're really very well positioned. We released our transitional cost-based rates in July and have been paying the subsidy reimbursement rate regardless of provider charge since 2021. Over the next several months, we will be conducting additional data collection to refine our model estimates and publish new subsidy reimbursement rates with the next state plan, which will be effective October 1st of 2024. We also feel good about the direction we are heading for the next key component, and that is expanding sustainable payment practices. We know current attendance tracking and reporting has a considerable administrative burden and is a barrier to provider participation in CCDF. We are transitioning to pay by enrollment with our new InKids system and are exploring options to implement this sooner in our current system. Then in order to prohibit family copayments that are a barrier to childcare access, the new rule proposes a maximum copay of 7% of income. Currently in Indiana, copays can range from 5 to 26%, with the average being 9% of income. It's important to note that there are no copays for incomes below 100% of FPL today. The proposed rule also calls for states to publish their sliding fee scale for co-payments, which Indiana already does on their FSSA website. But you can imagine when co-pays range from 5 to 26%, it's a little complicated. And so a simplification would be welcome for not only our eligibility offices, but our families as well. The new rule also seeks to expand the number of copay waivers. Currently, copays are waived in Indiana for pre-K families, licensed foster families, and families with a CPS referral. The proposed rule calls for this group to include all families with incomes under 150% of FPL and for eligible families with a child with a disability. An analysis of current enrollment in copays is planned to project the fiscal impact of any change in copays. The goal is to understand the potential impacts on the CCDF waitlist and the number of children we may be able to serve. The next component of the proposed rule calls for states to build supply through the use of contracted slots and grants. Today, there are only 33 agreement center contracts in 9 counties in Indiana. MAPT is working on a project plan to develop a new contracted slot model. According to the proposed rule, the final plan should address areas with an acute lack of supply for types of care such as infants and toddlers, children with disabilities, and those seeking care during non-traditional hours. The proposed rule also calls for faster eligibility and verification using presumptive eligibility. This includes considering a child to be eligible prior to full documentation and verification and using enrollment in another public benefit program such as SNAP or TANF to verify eligibility. We are in the initial phases of contracting with a vendor that has experience helping states navigate presumptive eligibility. The goal is to assess the various programs in Indiana and provide recommendations for next steps. We will also be asking this vendor to make recommendations to better align with ACF's goal of making our eligibility process more family all the way around. And finally, the proposed rule requires states to minimize disruptions to families by mandating an online application for services. Indiana rolled out an online application, EEC, in 2020, and will be implementing an improved application and new family portal with our new system, IN Kids. Additionally, we have begun using family navigators with 211 and covering kids and families to assist families through the eligibility process.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sue. Lots embedded there in that federal rule. And it sounds like Indiana is well situated for much of it. So any questions from this group? I don't think we are tasked with influencing federal rulemaking, unfortunately, but I bet that the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning will at least try to shed light for us if you have questions. I think these are a lot of things that providers have been asking for a long time, and many of these things directly ladder to the Elac recommendations that we made this time last year.
You know, oftentimes Indiana gets the slack of being too conservative and sort of behind rather than leading. This seems like an opportunity for us to put ourselves forward and saying that how much we have and are progressing forward in alignment with what the feds are saying. I think it's a big applause for not only Elac and the work of all the people that are involved, but also those who have been working diligently behind the scenes. Big applause.
Thank you for that, Madeline. Other comments or questions from those on the phone? All right. Well, with that, thank you very much, Sue. Appreciate that. We will turn our attention to public comment, and I believe we have 5 individuals that are here to comment on behalf of their concerns and their organization, starting with Kelly Dawn Jones. And so you decline? Okay. Next we have Brandy Pohl, is it? Hi, Brandy. Welcome. And we've got a microphone here in the room, so just wait for that, please. And Courtney will kind of keep us honest with time at 2 minutes each.
Thank you. My name is Brandy Pohl. I have a small center in Marshall County. We transitioned into a multi-home during round 2 of the investment grants program 2018. Also did a new center in a childcare desert in Stark County that opened in 2021. So I've been through the home licensing, multi-home licensing, and center licensing in Indiana. I'm a pilot right now for the new fast track for what was fast track PTQ, and I applaud the group for tackling that, because as you expand care, especially in the childcare desert, a majority of your clients are CCDF. And so when you are expanding and you're level 3 and you drop to level 1, it's really detrimental to the program, especially if you are doing, as we've been coached by Spark, to be high quality employers where
paying well, offering health insurance and all the things. You can't really do that on level one rates, especially home level one rates. So I just want to applaud that you are tackling that, and I'm excited to be part of it. I'm really excited about the employer-sponsored childcare fund. However, one question I had is, as community-based programs, we do sponsor our own employees childcare many times. And if we are under that 20, a business that's under 20, so we have to rely on community foundation to support our employer-sponsored childcare. Or is there going to be something in place for actual early childhood providers who have, who are sponsoring the children of our?
That's a great question, Brandy. I will say at this stage, I think that's a conversation that we could have as far as how this funding impacts early care and education providers. But this particular funding is set up for small businesses. I mean, I get it that providers are small businesses, but from a vantage point of looking at what different industries need to get workers in the door as well. And so that was kind of the thought behind, if somebody, whoever they are, a childcare provider, a business, whatever, whomever, if they have less than 20, how is that sustainable in a way that continues to go on? And so that was some of the thought too behind, could a larger entity, whether it be a coalition, the city of Bloomington, whomever, provides that support and how they choose to build it out to support. So an entity could very well say, hey, we're going to apply for this on behalf of Monroe County, and we're going to determine that this is how we're going to divvy this out, whether it's to 10 respective high quality childcare providers within the state, within their county, whether it's those set aside seats. But I think a larger conversation to where you're going is where my mind leans as well is, how do we have something specifically for childcare providers who offer just that, whether it's a sliding scale fee for staff, whether you're waiving and eating the cost because you're offering those benefits to staff. To me, I think that's a different funding stream. So I think there's a few ways to go about that, but I definitely hear you and know that that's a need. But I think I just need to do a little more discovery around how that could look.
And along with that would be businesses under 20. Resort community, and our goal of our business is small business. It's often been a discussion with EDC, with Economic Development and the Redevelopment Commission, that they often don't feel that they're getting enough out of EDC because EDC focuses on industrial. So I do think you're going to have providers. It's going to be a lot of work with economic development to also support those under 20 businesses and make sure that our voices are heard. I just worry that a lot of us the more urban, suburban areas and industrial versus smaller.
Thank you for that feedback. Now, we may not be able to respond to all of the comments in the public comment period, but certainly we want to hear from everyone. And I'm certain that those who are responsible will take your feedback into consideration as they move forward. So with that, thank you very much, Brandy. And I'll invite Kelly Stipes if you're still here. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm not sure what this is.
Oh, sorry. I am not at all trying to put you on the spot. You're just on the list. So if you want to decline, that's fine too.
No, I'm just going to go off of what you were discussing from what I can mention. So, and as far as this new Indiana employer sponsored funds, whatever the name of it is actually, I look forward to it as well, but I do see that's running out. So I I have to, I guess, I am going to discuss a few things. I think we've come a long way. I've been doing this 32 years, so thanks to a lot of people that have supported me here as well. But as far as communication and the sub-goal has worked out great. Congratulations for that. I hope that I look forward to that as well. And as far as I guess really what we're doing, Courtney as well. I think she's doing great, inspiring and inspiring everyone, all of you. I mean, all of us, we all are big sticker or something. So seriously, yeah, sorry, I was totally caught. I didn't have a speech. So, yeah.
Well, we appreciate your comments. I've never been awarded a sticker in a meeting before, so. Okay.
I love it so much.
Public comment sign up, sorry, not the sign in sheet.
But we're glad to have heard from you anyway.
Yes.
And to hear about the work that you're doing in Bloomington. So thank you.
OMG, that's the best.
And it was a nice opportunity to say good things about Jennifer. That's always welcome too. So, all right, I'm going to ask if Christy Olson would like to comment. And you're from the IU Bloomington Early Childhood Education Services. Great, thank you.
Run centers on the IU and I've been fortunate to be able to see our programs expand over the years, specifically with infants and toddlers. We first did an expansion in 2007. We did that and we put our job posting in. We had over 30 applicants who are qualified. We had to go through there and decide of those qualified applicants who we were going to interview. So we had this lush group of professionals. We expanded again in 2017, adding applicants. That group of applicants dropped down to about 12. We have had numerous since COVID, which just like everything. We have had, when we post jobs, we receive 0 applicants. We now have 1 classroom because we can't. I appreciate and I applaud the focus on accessibility and affordability for families. The issue here is we don't have to meet. And so I'm looking forward to some additional conversations and ways that is being addressed. Our free cost of care for an infant is $568 a week. $340. Isn't we're not able to fill our positions, but our cost of care is still really high. I do encourage you, I know people amongst the directors have heard me say this before. I really encourage you, if you're driving in your car, listen to the podcast, No One Is Here to Save Us. It's from Gloria Riviera. It started out as from a parent's perspective of the high cost and difficulty in finding childcare. And what she has now shifted into doing is she's reaching out to states that are making it work. So there are actually wonderful ideas that are coming out of this podcast of where communities and states can address the issue of accessibility, affordability, and salaries and wages. Thank you.
Before you give that up, can you just give that name of the podcast one last time? Make sure everybody has a chance to write it down.
No One Is Coming to Save Us. Great. And you can find it on Spotify, Limonada, and Neighborhood Villages.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy. And I think Last up, we have Noelle Hanson.
Get the fancy one. I know, let's make a deal. Okay, and I'm just gonna, first of all, didn't realize, I thought I was just signing up.
Okay.
Say that I was here. So I'm glad I'm being forced to have that.
You are invited only invited.
Yes,
Not
I'm
forced.
Piggy off of what else has been mentioned here. I own Kid Angles Early Education School. I own a center as well as 2 at-homes. I am becoming reactive again with the at-homes. I will tell you, as well as appreciate everything that's being done so far, but I will tell you that the at-home providers are insulted, up in arms, and disappointed in how they are feeling and being viewed in this community. And so I'm just being the voice for it right now, because it was kind of, they're feeling kind of insulted at what the CCDF voucher has put out for them. And I'm speaking as sort of a spokesperson unexpectedly, but I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of share that. So we do need to really start to focus a little bit on what they are doing, because they are picking up the slack in areas that don't have childcare facilities, the desert programs. And they're everything. You know, we as directors know that we are the plumber, the sub, the person to cry on. They don't have that. So we need to really start focusing on them if we want to keep them being licensed. You know, so having said that, make sure we're looking at that. And then, as awesome as it is to support these families, we need to remember that some of our teachers qualify as these families. So we need to figure out a way that we can support, because there is a shortage we've never seen like this before. I've had to close almost 2.5 classrooms myself, not because I don't have the space to take in these kids that need. I don't have the staff that I can support to trust that I can open a classroom and know that person's going to show up the next day. And then I'm going to get in trouble for being out of ratio, or I'm going to have to tell a parent, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take your child home. So we need to figure out that, as well as there's got to be a way to get a system where our teachers as a collective can get insurance. The at-homes, some of the smaller centers, figure out either a collective group, because that is one of the things that we're running into is I cannot, as a home business, provide insurance. It would cost them their whole salary to pay the insurance. And that would help everybody in centers and ministries and in homes. If we could figure out a way to get insurance as well as help cover childcare fees, because again, some of these staff go into some of these centers and they're paying full price. So half of their salary is going to childcare. And so we need to think about that. As great as everything is coming, and I'm loving to see that we're really acknowledging this, but what's the incentive for someone to become an early educator anymore? What's the point? What's their income? They've got to be able to survive, be it a teacher in the program or be it an at-home provider. But I do appreciate you guys doing what you're doing so far.
Well, Noelle and Kelly, I'm glad you both signed the wrong list, because you had important and interesting things to say. And so thank you for being willing to share your voices with us. We have a few minutes left before the top of the hour. Does anyone not have an opportunity to sign the list that wants to add their name quickly? Anyone want to take their name off the list, signed inadvertently? Oh. All right, then I will just turn to my colleagues and ask for any final thoughts before we adjourn.
I will just say I appreciate transparency. It's something that I thrive to do and appreciate input, feedback always. And that's not something I just say as witty banter. I really do mean to the heart of me of that. And your comments are not lost on me. I will say that recently I had the opportunity to speak with the governor's workforce cabinet around this specific initiative for the employer facing grant. And within that, I echo some of your very same sentiments about the fact that as I grow capacity, I also have to have humans to work the work. And so I know there's some very good synergy in that space around what does that look like in our state. I know that Kelly, Dr. Savisi and I and Courtney recently attended a national conference last week that this was at the heart of those conversations, and with a room full of states and representatives and people who are doing the great work, everybody's having the same conversations. And so for me, I just want to just echo and say, thank you for your input. That doesn't fall on deaf ears. To the heart of me, I'm fighting, whether you know it or not, I'm fighting the fight with you and supporting you to the best of my abilities, and know that you're heard, one, but then also know that the larger conversations are happening. And I think what Jennifer Meyer said earlier today was so impactful. Like, we don't necessarily know what the seeds we're planting and how they're going to grow and how they're going to flourish. But the seed we plant today, we can't eat that apple today. And so just know that those things are happening and your voices are being heard, and we will continue to lean into that, and always know that my virtual door is always open to hear those thoughts. So thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
There were people doing subbing in Indiana before the pilot. But the thought behind this one was to be more curated, to go through iLead, so that my licensing team can actually see the back door of those subs that are on site and be verified through the state versus what was happening previously. So there was a little more method to the madness for this pilot than what I had, at least for my knowledge, what was happening previously, but the work had been happening, yes.
And no doubt individual conversations will continue. Are there other thoughts from the committee that we want to share? If not.
I don't want to
sorry,
steal your
Madam
thunder,
Chair.
Marine, but I just want to thank Jennifer and everybody who's been involved with this visit. It's been very informative, and the hospitality's been fantastic. So thanks to all of you for having us. And I know
Yes,
you were probably going to say that.
No, that's wonderful.
It's a
It's
great
better if it comes from you. So no, it's been truly wonderful day in Bloomington. And again, I echo that and appreciate the hospitality from Monroe Smart Start, from all of the providers that we visited. We were at Jenny's Place, we were at Covenant Christian, and we were at Nest at New Hope. And so we really did get to see just tremendous and different things from all of them. Thanks to the Community Foundation, thanks to the school district that had a representative here earlier, as well as the city of Bloomington. So I think we felt welcomed by the entire community, and look forward to our next Elac meeting, which will be hosted in Indianapolis and will occur on November 8th. So we'll look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks much.
Thanks, everyone.